that the Vatican has been relatively successful, or is it still a work in progress to reach people who are now increasingly only getting their information and sometimes their religious information on a smartphone?
Yeah, I think one of the things we had to begin with, we were dealing with people who kind of felt this is just stuff for children. This is not real. This is virtual communications. First thing we had to say is, look, this is real.
It's happening now.
It's happening now, and it's shaping how people think. It's how they form their ideas, how they get their education. And if we're not present in that digital world, we're going to be absent from their experience. And that's a failure of our fundamental. We were told by Christ to go out to the whole world, to bring good news to everybody. That means also going into the platforms and into what Pope Benedict called the digital continent. So it's not a separate world, it's integrated. I mean, we live digitally and we live our everyday lives concretely as well.
In real life.
And the two of them, I don't like to make that distinction between real life because I think it is real.
I agree.
We talk more about what we would like to call, it's an augmented existence. So look, I meet somebody. Before I meet them, I Google, who are they, what are they? Then I meet them.
Yeah.
So that it's an integrated thing. So if I don't have a presence in social media, I'm going to miss out on a generation of people. It's a very important for us thing to establish a good presence in social media.
Right.
But that's very different to what we always did in the past. So it's learning a new language, learning a different culture, learning to appreciate the values that determine that.
When you do engage and you hear back from people
Yeah.
who are interacting with the Pope on
Yeah.
Twitter, for example,
Yeah.
more than 10
Yeah.
million followers,
Right.
what do you hear from people? What do they want? And
Yeah.
how has that changed communication?
What it has done in a very real way is it has set us up to, for example, when the Pope went first on Twitter, there was a barrage of negative comment. There was extraordinary strong kickback.
Trolls everywhere.
Trolls everywhere. And some of that was, some people said, oh, we have to get the Pope out. We have to move the Pope out of that, close down that account. It's dangerous. It's, this particularly from people who don't know social media. The first thing you began to say is, okay, some of that was political. It was groups of people, let's troll him and he'll walk away. And maybe me being Irish, we don't do that. We stay there. Stubborn.
That's also not the nature of social media at all.
No. Then the second thing we began to say was, there was a lot of anger there. But why was there anger? Where was the anger coming from? And you can learn from that. It's important to understand how people perceive you, how they understand you, and to know that there are things that maybe you have to think about the next time I'm talking. I have to be careful not to compound a kind of an expectation or an understanding that is there,
Yeah.
So one of the things when we began to work with Twitter, it was kind of interesting because some people said to the Pope, this is not really serious. But Twitter for us was an important in itself, and Pope Benedict got that immediately. He said, are you saying that this is something that allows me to share short messages of hope and encouragement with people I wouldn't otherwise meet? Yes. Fine. Do it. Go.
And so now, fast forward a few years.
Yeah.
How has Twitter, Facebook, Instagram changed the way the Pope Francis is thinking about engaging with the public?
I think it's, in a strange way, I don't think it's that Pope Francis has changed. Pope Francis is who he is, but who works well on social media platforms, because a lot of his communication is visual. It's not the long, heavy philosophical or theological discourses. They're there and they're important,
Right.
but it's also his basic simplicity of his approach to people. His gesture of welcoming people, that smiling presence that works on Instagram.
The warmth.
The warmth.
So it's the warmth on Instagram.
But it's authentic. I think the other thing that really was important about the Pope going on Twitter was at a time when around the church, some people were inclined to say, this is not serious. How can you say anything meaningful in 140 characters? Well, the first thing to say is, most of the teaching of Jesus, love your neighbor, don't think of yourself, think of others, all works in 140 characters.
What the Pope is putting out on Twitter, for example, is very much about love and spreading the word of the Catholic Church. Across the pond, you have a President Trump, who uses Twitter as well, and he's often using Twitter to call out individuals about things that they may not agree on. What is the Vatican's thought on the other major Twitter account in the world right now, President Trump's?
I'm not really interested in taking up a position on that, because that's an issue for Americans. I'm not American and the Vatican doesn't get. We have our own things to say, and we will continue to say that. And we will continue to say that every human person has value and worth and dignity. We will continue to say that people, when they are encouraged, are capable of great good, and to encourage people in their lives. I think if we were to be reacting, then we're no longer saying what we want to say.
When you are here at South by Southwest, you're looking at all kinds of different innovation, innovative ideas, innovative companies, products. What's the one thing you want to take back to the Vatican?
What I want to bring back is, what I want to do is get a sense of, this is an unusual one, it's to get a real understanding of the culture and to see that there are so many people who, apart from doing this thing to make a buck or to make a living for themselves, are actually trying to use social media to share good and positive ideas. I want to be part of their conversations. So I want to know who they are and what they are. And we're learning so much from people. I mean, one of the interesting things at the beginning was, we said, let's go and give a very positive endorsement of social media. Because at the time, you have this kind of, social media will make us all into brilliant geniuses and we will be so good that the world will never look back again. And the other side is going to take us all into simpletons and we'll be stupid and we won't be able to talk to one another. And the truth is somewhere in between.
Absolutely, I agree with
We chose very clearly to go with the positive, to underscore the potential of social media to help people to know one another, to discover about them, about different cultures, about draw closer, to make our world more a sense of a family.
Some would say that Pope Francis and his team are some of the most innovative minds ever in the Vatican. What do you say to that?
I don't think so. No. I think what I would say is that maybe one of the things we were very lucky at is that even though we had a lot of people who were not tech savvy, but they had a huge attentiveness to human communications and to human dynamics and to how, the church's job has always been about building community. At the core of religious belief is not actually a belief in a whole set of doctrines or ideas, it's essentially about a relationship to a person. And the message of Jesus, for example, was always a message that was a message, but it was always in the context of a relationship to a person. And I think social media has put communications, the content, back into the context of relationship. So I think one of the things we kind of intuitively felt was that social media meant that you couldn't communicate without also relating to people. And we built from that from the beginning. I think it was an easy fit in some ways, because it was saying the test of the value of your communication is how you are, your relationship, the kind of support you offer to other people, and where authenticity becomes the keynote. And I think one of the things for us has been the challenge to try and how to be authentic and how do you show your love, your care and your concern for other people also on digital platforms.